Go ahead and call this meeting to order, and I will ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will ask everyone please to remain standing, that this is the portion of the meeting that we like to highlight the importance of including physical activity in your daily regimen, that if you include about 30 minutes of some sort of physical activity, it greatly reduces your risk towards chronic disease. So I'm trying to help you out a little bit today, that we'll get some of those knocked out just right now. And just a very simple activity that we're going to do that you may have done at a basketball game or football game at one point. Just it's an arm exercise. We're just going to do like this, and it's just some raise the roofs. You can go ahead and cheer if you feel so inclined. Very easy.
That's right. I feel like everybody's got their hands up.
30 minutes. And you can put them down and have a seat. Thank you very much.
Came up with that all on your own, did you, Jim? Don't need a motion, right?
All right, we are at our first meeting of 2016, and I know that there are a number of new folks that are joining us after last year's municipal elections, and so I will turn to Attorney Hollenbeck to announce those appointments.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As has been indicated, I feel like maybe we need a social gathering to get to know everybody here. We have 15 new commissioners. With that in mind, I'm going to deviate from the normal process of simply reading names. I have looked at all the appointing letters, and they are in proper form. I'm going to ask the new members maybe to stand up so we can put a face with a name and kind of introduce yourself. David, you're new, but you're not new.
I'm Dave Schaefer. Yeah, what am I? I'm the clerk treasurer for the town of Munster, and I should explain that I was on the board for 22 years, offered to, now I'm back on again. And really, NERPC is one of those organizations you really fall in love with, so I'm really glad to be back. Thank you.
My name is Kyle Allen. I'm the newly appointed Lake County Commissioner replacing Roosevelt Allen Jr. Prior to serving in my current position, I served on the Gary Common Council.
I am Sylvia Graham. I'm in my 8th year serving on the Porter County Council. I'm running for re-election. And I've served on Dignity Board and on the Plan Commission. And I'm very happy to be here.
Rick Raifa, I'm the Griffin Town Council.
Tony Dean Hardy from Town of Burke Harbor. I'm Jan Bass. I'm from the Town of Green Acres. I'm the clerk treasurer. I'm retired from my careers as a school administrator, so the cities and towns is all new for me. I'm looking forward to learning.
Bill Potterbeck from Wolftown Council.
Tom Pratt with the Westville Town Council.
Karen Kirkham of the Port County Council, and I previously served on the Port City Council with Mayor Wendell.
Track Gerald, Schneider Town Council.
Kathy Canola, Octavians Town Council.
My name's Nicole Markovich. I'm on the Cowles Town Council. I'm a registered nurse, and this is all new to me, so nice to meet everybody.
Nick Meyer with the Town of Long Beach, a new council member, and for those of you who know Bob Schaefer, he just said, don't mess things up here.
Mayor Ron Muir, Mayor of Michigan City, served 8 years on the City Council, starting my second term as mayor, and I want to thank Councilman Murphy, who served the last 4 years here. I think he did an exceptional job, so thank you.
Christine Sid, Lake County Council, and I'm happy to be back.
Well, welcome. We We have a quorum and we are ready to proceed.
Great, thank you very much. That takes us to the minutes from our last meeting on December 17th, included in your packet, and hopefully you had a chance to review them previously, are those minutes. I would entertain a motion for approving the minutes as submitted.
Madam Chair, I move that they be approved.
Second, Madam Chair.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions, deletions, additions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Then the minutes are approved. Takes us to the report of the chair, and first up, we have the Norman Tufford Award, and I will turn to Tommy to be able to talk to that.
Thank you, Mayor. As most of you know, we give an award every year recognizing the very first executive director of NERC, Norm Tufford, for his commitment to the region, and we give this award to someone who has shown exemplary leadership in the region. That has to be a commissioner or staff member, and we've had multiple recipients in the past. Last year was former executive director Jan Swanson. The committee, which was composed of Mayor Milo and Mr. Jim Tunn and myself, agreed very, very quickly that this award was appropriate to go this year to Mr. Roosevelt Allen Jr. And I will ask for a moment of silence in a moment. Roosevelt Allen, of course, as you know, unexpectedly passed away. And as you read the obituaries and whatnot for Mr. Allen, I think the word that keeps coming up in everything that was written about him was the word gentleman. I think he very much exemplified a way to deal with public service in a very tactful and collegial way, showed leadership in tirelessly pursuing the designation of the Northwest Indiana Economic Development District, served as our treasurer, and was very, very supportive of NERC. So I'd like to first ask for a moment of silence for Mr. Allen, and then I'll ask Mr. Allen's family to come forward and receive the award posthumously. So please join me in a moment of silence. Very much. If I could ask Valerie and other members of Mr. Allen's family to come forward, we appreciate you being here this morning. Thank you so much. To present this to you on behalf of the committee, and thank you for Mr. Allen's service to this region. He's made a big impact on all of us. Great leader.
One more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I might also point out on each of your places is a copy of the congressional records. Congressman Wisglowski made some very fitting comments recognizing Mr. Allen and his service, and those are all laid out in front of you with extra copies on the table, and I commend you to read those. And again, we've lost a wonderful leader for the region. I know I've heard that from many, many of you, so thank you, and I know you all agree that this award is very well received. Thank you.
That takes us next to the report of the nominating committee, of which I will turn to Mayor Snedeker to please make a report.
Madam Chairman, the nominating committee met, and through a pretty exhaustive process, we looked at a number of things in this process. Attendance at NERC, leadership, subcommittee involvement, interest in serving. They've stated an interest in serving, engagement in NERC, and a matter of leadership overall. And I would like to present to you, Madam Chairman, the findings of the nominating committee. We are recommending that the chairperson be Jim Tunn, the vice chairperson be Michael Griffin, the treasurer Diane Knoll, secretary Jeff Benson, executive board representing Lake County Anthony Copeland and Tom McDermott, the executive board representing LaPorte County Blair Milo and Dave Decker, and the executive board representing Porter County Kevin Brightsky and Greg Stinson, and of course the governor's appointment being Ed Soliday. That would be the recommendation of the nominating committee. Madam Chairman, I would make the motion that this be approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion items? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the slate of the 2016 nominations, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Then the 2016 nominations are approved, which then takes us to, I guess that handles the election of the officers and the executive board, which then, because we have the elections approved, then we will have the peaceful transfer of power that I know everyone has been waiting for, so that you no longer have to do the exercises at my behest. But I will urge that my colleague from the Chesterton Town Council hopefully continue the practice.
Mr. Chair, can I have 5 minutes for rebuttal on that recommendation?
If I could, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Mayor Milo for her service. She's been a delight to work with. Her energy and her forward-thinking ideas for the commission have been just great. I think staff has really appreciated working with her, and I have as well. She's accomplished her goal, which was to get the most amount done in the least amount of meetings last year. And that was not really her fault because of our construction situation, but I think she accomplished that. And so on behalf of the entire NERC Commission, I'd like to present Mayor Milo with this official plaque. The gavel actually is detachable, so you can really use that. So there you go. Yeah.
And we can go ahead and have a seat here. It's been a great opportunity this past year to be able to serve with Ty and all the staff. There is just a tremendous amount of opportunity that exists through NERC, and it has been my distinct honor to be at the leadership of this organization. I am looking forward to continuing to be involved, especially as we are adapting to some of the new committee processes that we have worked towards over the last couple of years, and looking forward to support a great nominee and new chairperson here in Councilman Tunn.
Thank you very much, Chair Milo. I appreciate the opportunity to be involved at this level with NERC. I value this organization very highly, and I believe that the longer that people work with the people at NERC and work for their communities in conjunction with NERC, they will truly see the value of this organization. I would draw the attention of the group to page 8 in your handout. We have the 2016 schedule of NERC meetings. I want to make a comment, take an opportunity to make a comment at this point that we have 53 members of the commission, and we have 4 meetings during the year, and they're highlighted, underlined, that are full commission meetings. Our enabling statutes require us to do certain things in this organization with the full commission's approval. That means a majority, 51% of the commission. So please highlight or star in your calendars those days when the full commission meets. For example, we have to have the election on a full commission day. The budget has to be approved on a full commission day. There are usually required activities that must be approved by the full commission when we call a full commission meeting. So there are 4. So please highlight those. We would very much appreciate your attention and attendance at those meetings. Now, All commission members are free to attend any commission meeting, whether it's a full commission meeting, hopefully you will, or an executive board meeting. You're welcome to those as well. In an executive board meeting, motions and seconds are made by executive board members, but commission members are free and encouraged to attend, especially those of you that are joining us on an initial basis, so that you can get your feet on the ground and find out exactly how things operate on a monthly basis. So please feel welcome. Mayor Milo has also mentioned the committee assignments. In the past, we have had a sheet of all the different committees and requested that people put an X by what committee they may want to serve on. And then that's sorted out by the leadership team, and committee assignments are made as expeditiously and with as much consideration as possible. With Mayor Milo's extensive work on the restructuring of the committees, we are going to proceed in a different fashion this year, and that fashion will be in response to the diagram you see on page 9. You will receive shortly, I hope, before March, a electronic transmission asking you to respond to what assignment you would like to have as far as a subcommittee. In the past, we've requested that people participate in at least 2 subcommittees and commit to that. Sometimes you get your choice, sometimes not. We'll probably, in that electronic transmission, ask for 3 or 4 choices. So if you don't get your first one, you may get your second and third, and so forth and so on. Those assignments will be made and then made, notice will be given to you as soon as that's done. I don't want to commit to a timeline because we have to construct this. This is a nascent project. It's something that's just coming out of creation. And we have to thank Mayor Milo for her work on this, but the appendage to that is that we do need to go through a different process of putting people on committees. So please look for that electronic transmission, then we'll get started on trying to sort everybody into what they would like to serve on as much as possible. So that will be our consideration. Are there any questions on the procedure for committee assignments? Okay, thank you very much for your attention to that as soon as you receive that. We have a presentation next under item 5, and that presentation is related to the heritage area, Calumet National Heritage Area, and I'll ask Mark Bowman. Thank you, sir. If you'd like to make it, you are associated with the Field Museum.
I am.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we look forward to hearing your information.
Great, thanks.
Let me just tee Mark up a little bit. I've greatly enjoyed working with Mark. Kathy Luther from our staff, our Director of Environmental Programs, also works extensively at the Field Museum. They've been a great partner for Northwest Indiana, and I don't want to set you up too dramatically, but they're just very, very excited about all the things that are happening. The Field Museum has been involved in, I don't want to steal Mark's thunder, but it's just exciting stuff going on in the region, and we're glad to be a part of it, and I hope you will end up excited about this as well by the time Mark's done. Thanks, Mark.
Great,
Sir, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks. Okay. Should be on. Am I on? Just to the speaker. Hello? There you go, right? That works. Great. Well, thank you very much, and I really appreciate the time. I wanted to, through the project I'm about to describe, I wanted to meet every one of you, and this is incredibly efficient. Here you all are. And actually, the project I'm working on is also very much a partnership, and a lot of folks in this room are very much a part of that. I would say what I'm about to talk about is something you may have heard of. It's the Calumet National Heritage Area. This is increasingly popping its way into some conversations for reasons that I'll explain in a moment, but even just last week in a great article in the Times, Ty spoke of some of the efforts in this area. So this is definitely in the category of something that I think everybody should know about, and at some point I think and rapidly is becoming something that I hope you support. This is a map of the Calumet region, and I would say that it's important for you guys to know
that this appeared on the cover of the Valparaiso Planning Commission report in 1956, the year I was born. And it was created by Alfred Meyer, who was a geographer at VU at the time, and in fact for much of the mid-century he was there and leading the way on helping people to think about what it means to be a region. Air, water, botany, labor sheds, media markets, these all transcend individual municipal boundaries as well as they transcend state lines. And I learned this as an undergraduate at Valparaiso, and I went on to teach at Chicago State over on that other state that shall remain nameless. And now I work with other dinosaurs. This is Sue, who is named for a Munster resident, actually, Sue Hendrickson. So even for 6 billion years, which is our oldest object, we've been thinking about the region at the Field Museum. A word about the Field Museum. Why the Field Museum of Natural History? We were founded in 1893 at the World's Fair in Chicago, and watch for The Devil in the White City, which is being made into a movie right now. Our first home was in what is now the Museum of Science and Industry building. Here we are in Jackson Park looking south. Right after the World's Fair, this is about 1900. And in the background you can see some of the smokestacks. And around the arc of Lake Michigan, early Field Museum scientists were going to work right away, once that museum was created in 1893, into this region. What they encountered was a place of industry next to marshes and with some very important and rare plants. This is a plant that has only ever been found in the Calumet region. It's called Thismia americana. It hasn't been seen since 1916. It may be gone. It's the only photograph in this huge book called The Plants of the Chicago Region. The Field Museum has 2 of the 6 herbarium specimens in the entire world. This is really one of our treasures. And we've been out here for a long time, looking at yellow-headed blackbirds, habitat for rare animals, endangered, and also at work in the dunes since the beginning. And part of the process of creating a national park was building that case that this is a very important place. Critically imperiled habitat. So the museum's mission with its huge collections is about the diversity of the world, and we find in this region some of the most biodiverse parts of the world and culturally diverse parts of the world, which is what this project is about. And the effort to create the dunes, again, and of course the cultural diversity and the amazing role that this region plays in the economic health of the nation. We have, as a result, have gathered up from our researches as many as 20,000. It's hard to count this stuff. Actually, the total in the whole museum now, we think the number's about 30 million objects and specimens. That makes us the 4th largest collections-based institution of natural history in the world. But about 20,000 are from right around here. Fish from Wolf Lake in the 1890s. Contemporary urban objects that talk about what it means to be a city today. So even as we bring in the Chinese warriors to tell the story of the rise of urban civilization, we want to tell the story of what cities are like now and where leadership is taking us. So this issue of a national heritage area is important to the Field Museum. We work with some of you in the room, with Jeff, on things like the Calumet Stewardship Initiative and teaching the kids of the region, working on ecological restoration. But this particular project, in this particular moment, is really important, and I think this is a great opportunity to tell you about it. Last year, President Obama, a year ago tomorrow, came to Pullman and created the newest national park. There's a little bit more than 400 national parks now, the Pullman National Monument. And with the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore, there's now an opportunity to think of them together as a unit that transcends the state line in a region of tremendous biological and cultural diversity. So what's a national heritage area? This is not a taking of land. It's important to say that a couple times. and I've got a couple slides that say this. It is a way to think about the landscape in general as a unit, tell its story, shine a light on it, maybe, and it can overlap national parks. So you can think of it as the national park to a national park and the landscape in between that frames it. They're grassroots approaches to heritage conservation and economic development. They're lived-in landscapes. So what it is about is creating the process, creating that gets people talking, creating the opportunities to find projects where you are talking about air, water, land, labor, media, across political boundaries, and in a way that's coherent and strategic. There are 49 in the United States. The first was created in Chicago in 1984. It's the Illinois and Michigan Canal National Heritage Corridor. There are a bunch of them, some that you might want to think about. I'll talk about in a second, but so they're not a national park as such. The people at the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore and Pullman are very much aware of this effort and see it as very complementary. So this is a local effort. It needs local support. And I'll say in a second where that support is coming from. So among the reasons why to do this wayfinding at a bi-state scale, as the crossroads of the nation, what do people encounter when they come here as a total entity? This whole region, you could say, is about 1.6 million people, which makes it larger than metropolitan Indianapolis. Does it have an identity on that same scale? Economic development, there is some federal money that comes to heritage areas. It's not the reason you do it, but they do leverage other dollars, especially those that transcend political borders. Environmental and cultural preservation, really counting up what is out there in a resource inventory, stitching it together, finding the gaps, making the most of it. Fostering education and stewardship of natural and cultural resources, like some of the existing initiatives like the Calumet Stewardship Initiative, and maybe most important, a process for bi-state dialogue and management. This is an existing set of ways of doing things that have been successful in other regions. So a couple that I mentioned, the Ohio and Erie Canalway in Cleveland, in Pittsburgh is the Rivers of Steel National Heritage Area, an excellent place to visit. There's a lot of similarities to this region. The visitorship you can see there, and I should say again, the Field Museum is very eager to be part of the story. We are right there at the museum campus train station that on the South Shore connects us to the national park in 45 minutes. We have 1.2 million visitors a year. If some of those visitors would realize that after we tell them about the diversity of the world that they could get to a national park, either in Pullman or at the dunes within 45 minutes, we would love to make more of it. So what do you need to do to get here? You need legislation. So somebody has to introduce a bill. The Park Service advises, but is not the ultimate gatekeeper on this. Congressmen in this area are aware of this effort. They're watching it carefully. Ultimately, I think they'll want to know how much support there is for it. But you do have to go through a feasibility study. This is what is in process right now. So there's a lot of things to be done. Among them are things that we've distributed for you. There are statements here about, you have to say what is nationally significant about this area. We have argued that it's the diversity and the juxtaposition of industry, people, and environment here that you see coming together like you see nowhere else in the country, and solutions to what's happened to that encounter over time. $500 million on the Grand Calumet River of restoration that makes this an amazing place, right next to the toll road and within sound of industrial activity. How do you get people out there? Who's doing this? So there is
The Field Museum is listed here. There were previous efforts. This is sort of gathering them for this moment. There is a group called the Calumet Heritage Partnership. I'm the president of that group. The Field Museum is a partner of that group. It includes folks from the Indiana Landmarks, from South Shore Arts, from the Calumet Area Industrial Commission. It's a bi-state group. There are consultants engaged right now. Some of you are aware of activities we've been having over the course of the last year or so to build conversation around this. This is a further list of folks on the board. Lakeisha Gerder from the city of Gary is a new board member. And you can see we've strived for bi-state activity. The Calumet Heritage Partnership has had annual conferences for the last 15 or so years. A really compelling one was held on the theme of arts and regional conversation. And again, John Kane's participation is part of this. But art is, as you'll see, is such a huge way to build the placemaking conversation about what makes this region so important. What you have in your packet are what we landed on, where we seem to be right now for what's significant about the place. So I'd encourage you to take a look at this, encourage you to get back to me about, you know, hey, you missed something, or looks pretty good, I like that comment. And this is sort of where this is heading. A couple of other things about who's working on this is the idea has really been gaining steam in the last 4 or 5 years. So at Marquette Park in 2013, the Calumet Stewardship Initiative convened about 250 stakeholders. Congressman Kozlowski charged the group, think of something big. Okay, so this is the #1 idea they came up with. Think of this. The big game-changing idea for this region, which I would say runs roughly from Blue Island to the port. The specific boundaries, I rely a lot on Alfred Meyer to set this boundary, but we can bring it in, take it out a little bit. Marquette Plan updates from 2015 call out the heritage area as a potential regional priority project. Over in the other state, there is this thing called the Millennium Reserve. The Millennium Reserve Initiative was created by Governor Quinn. He's not the governor anymore, but the group of people around the table, stakeholders, the leadership of some foundations and some municipalities and park districts have agreed to stay together as a voluntary group and have been very open to building a conversation across the state lines. Kai came to the meeting in December and described how some of these efforts can dovetail. Again, building from the ground up, it's not an imposition, it's an invitation to kind of have dialogue on issues of mutual regional significance. So the Millennium Reserve has called it out as a priority project as well. So it's interesting, these two regional efforts. Now the question is how you bring it together across the state line. So 2016 is a big year. Here you all are, having your birthday year. This bicentennial of the state, the centennial of the Park Service, 50th anniversary of the dunes. These are all occasions to try to get the feasibility study done. We're pointing towards another round of public comment in early May that's going to take up not just the issues of themes and significance that you see here, but questions of, all right, who's really going to manage this thing? How will it be sustainable? What will its program be? What are the projects that it would like to move forward? That's what's in the hopper right now. And I encourage you to look forward to that. I'd also encourage you in that first week in May, come to the museum as my guest on May 7th. With this, I think, will be the second screening of the Shifting Sands movie. This is an image from the PR for that movie. This is a movie about the changing history of this region and of that encounter between industry and environment and people, and how it's shifting. Things are changing in many ways for the better, but this is in a way that an institution like the Field Museum really wants to showcase what is important about this nationally significant effort, because we think that what you guys do is so significant to get that out there on the table. So, I went through it pretty quickly there, but, and I'm sure you got questions and probably no time to ask them. But I'll be around, and I'd love to meet you and talk with you afterward. So, all right. Oh, to find out more, KeimetHeritage.org is a one-stop place, including for two things. One is information on the feasibility study process itself, and secondly, it points in the direction of some events that are happening right now, including an exhibit from downtown Hammond right now at substation number 9 of some photographs and oils and watercolors of the industrial landscape of the Calumet region. So thanks very much for your time. It's a real privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baldwin. We appreciate your presentation. Were there any questions? Thank you again.
Great. Thanks.
That leads us to the report of the Executive Director. Momentarily.
Sorry. Good? All right. Thank you again. I'm just, there's a lot that's been happening by state that I think is just really exciting. So glad you can get a taste of some of that's happening, and a lot is ramping up. Mark mentioned, as you heard, amongst a slew of other things, this is NERCC's 50th anniversary year. We've mentioned that before. We are sort of doing a soft launch into that celebration when we get back into our actual space. And again, I can't thank the Construction Advancement Foundation enough for the use of these facilities. Once we are able to be fully back in our space, we'll be doing that in a more, we'll be celebrating in a much more visible way. But you have some soft launch items that you may not have even noticed in front of you as we start to do this. One of those things is your very nameplates. We're using a temporary 50th anniversary logo. And you also have at your places these nifty new, nice ocean blue pens, also celebrating 50 years of NERCC history. For the Indiana Ocean. Exactly right. And then also, you may not have noticed, I got to thank John Smith on our staff for his creative burst of activity that he decided to do, is the cover of your packet. You'll see pictures of NERCC's locations going back to 1966 of all the places NERCC has been housed. And we have a long and rich history, and I don't want to tip my hand too much on what's coming up, but I will mention that Steve Strains on our staff has been working very diligently on assembling a great compilation of NERCC's history of collaboration over these 50 years. So a lot is coming up. There'll be cake and balloons and all the rest to come, but consider yourselves sort of invited to the party at this stage. I also want to give a welcome to all the new commissioners who've already been recognized, but just again to underscore, this is in a packet and a letter that's in your packet at your places with some information to help you get acclimated to NERCC, but just want to underscore as well. Myself and all the NERCC staff are here to answer any questions you've got at any time, so please don't hesitate to contact us about anything. In fact, I might go so far as to ask, could I ask all the NERCC staff that are sitting around here to just stand up just so they can see who you are? And this is just a portion of our staff, but I guess I want to ask you to introduce yourselves in the interest of time. But just so you know the faces, and you are more than welcome, and I would encourage you to go connect with somebody in that crowd before you leave here today. Thank you. Just a couple of quick things. We just recently got back from the NARC, National Association of Regional Councils Conference in Washington, D.C. Mayor Milo, Mr. Benson, Mr. Schaefer were all on this trip as well. We made visits to our congressional delegates. And I'm going to pass this around. This is what we had given out as our brochure piece, whichever way you want to send it. The item that's there as our main platform that we talked about has to do with transportation funding. There's a lot of things we could cover for this region. But we had, if you recall, those of you who've been in the NERCC Commission for a while, we had 4 positions on transportation funding before the passage of the FAST Act, which is the latest transportation bill. In that FAST Act, 3 of those 4 were addressed in some way or another, which is great news. The one item that we remain seeing as a challenge is the FAST Act did not create a sustainable funding program past its 5 years. So our message is essentially There's been a lot of debate about how to recapture revenue from gas tax that's not keeping up to fund the Highway Trust Fund. Our message is basically we've got a period of time with the passage of the FAST Act, which was funded through cobbling together various sources. We've got a period of time to hopefully work very hard on trying to figure out a revenue source that everyone can agree on that's sustainable by the time that FAST Act expires. Because at that point, we go right back into the same situation of depleting the Highway Trust Fund, which will affect all of your road projects and transit projects. So that was our message. On the notion of transit, I just want to make a special welcome to Susan Orona from Federal Transit Administration. Susan is our new contract, and I'm happy to say is also a resident of the region in Whiting. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but it's nice to have a local person from the Federal Transit Administration that understands Northwestern Indiana and for a short time in being here as a representative. She's made a huge impact not only with NERC staff, but also with the entire MPO Council all throughout Indiana. I appreciate your involvement, your presence, and physical presence to be part of those discussions. And like I said to you before, you are welcome at NERC anytime you care to stop by. You can consider us your second office if you want. We'll set up shop. Okay, I am done with one last announcement. I just want to recognize Kathy Luther received from the South Shore Clean Cities organization yesterday. Kathy, if you could stand up. She's rolling her eyes because she's embarrassed. Rightly so, I suppose. Kathy received a great award from South Shore Clean Cities at their annual meeting yesterday for essentially Woman of the Year for empowering women in the areas of environmental progressive. And thank you very much for indulging me on that report. Oh, I almost forgot one important thing. At your place also, and I noticed they're all off the table, which means they were very hot selling items, which is great, and they were for free, so you didn't have to pay for them, is the 2015 year in review. And I would encourage you to put that by your bedside. It's not boring, it's actually great stuff to cap off your day with. And thanks to Stephen Sestera for helping assemble that. It's literally hot off the presses, including fresh with some typos that we already know about. So we will, the version that got posted, that's not Stephen's fault. But the version that will be posted will be corrected. But please do, especially for our new folks, to get a good sampling of the kind of things that NERC is involved in. It's quite extensive. We had trouble fitting it into those 8 pages that are on those sheets. And I think there's a lot of stuff going on in the region that you're all a part of, so please read it. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chen.
Okay, thank you, sir. We're about to enter another phase of the meeting, and that phase is the reports of the different committees. And we have, first of all, I think, owe a debt of gratitude to Diane Knoll for coming in today and filling in on as treasurer. This is her first report, and I'm sure she'll do very well. Diane, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance and Personnel Committee met this morning, and we have a couple of items that were reviewed and approved by the committee. And the first item you'll find in your packet on page 15, and that is refund revenue that we want to add back to the budget. We need to send it to the commission for your approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? First budget amendment on page, letter A on your agenda. If not, I'll ask for all those in
Sorry,
favor.
Mr. Chair, that needs to be amended. That's the amendment that we amended because the amount is not right in the 2 other revenue number. It should be 1490.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I accept the change to my motion.
I as well.
Motion is amended. The second is amended. The discussion is not amended, so is there any discussion? Not being any, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Budget amendment passed. B.
The second item you'll find on page 16, and that is capital outlays to be moved to the trail guides, to the contractual, for the amount of $2,730. This has also been reviewed and approved by the committee.
So moved. I have a motion. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second on the item B under Finance and Personnel, which has been approved by the F&P Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Second budget amendment is approved. South Shore Clean Cities contract.
That'll be found on page 17, agreement between NERC and the South Shore Clean Cities for the provision of professional education and training services. This has been reviewed by Finance and Personnel, and this needs the approval by the Commission.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr.
Motion
Chairman, that
passes.
concludes my report.
Thank you, ma'am. Environmental Management Policy Committee, Mr. Benson.
The minutes are on pages 26 and 20 through 28. I would encourage people to read them. There's a lot of information about the NIPSCO pipeline upgrade that Steve Barker from NIPSCO presented. I won't go into the details, but it's good information to have, and in the interest of time, that concludes my report.
Are you requesting any action on any items under Environmental Management Policy Committee?
None.
No action requested. Number 9, presentation, NIPSCO Public Electronic Vehicle Charging Station Program. Please come forward. Those of you who are participating, I won't read names. I'll ask you to introduce yourselves at the mic.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Kevin Kirkman. I work for NIPSCO. Thank you for having me have the opportunity today to speak to everyone. As Mr. Bernard mentioned, that this is a great opportunity to speak to everyone at the same time, so I really appreciate your time today. With me today is Dr. Bev Backus from South Shore Clean Cities, and together we've been working on putting electric vehicle charging stations for home and businesses into the communities. And South Shore Clean Cities has been a great partner in helping to administer the program with NIPSCO for the past several years.
Is Carl Beck in the audience there, or the Executive Director of South Shore Clean Cities as well?
All right. With that, we have a great opportunity, kind of a special opportunity for towns and municipalities for putting in electric vehicle charging stations for your communities. I'll get into that in a minute. Before I do that, though, I want to just recap of some of the program activity that we have today. Back in 2012, with the help of the EPA consent decree, we have allocated funds for home and public charging. In 2012, we started the home program, which allows for homeowners to put electric charging stations when they purchase electric vehicles to help charge their cars at home. And we provide an incentive of $1,650 towards the installation of the charging stations. That's about what the charging stations cost to install at the house. So very little out-of-pocket expenses for the residential customer to actually install one of these charging stations. It allows the cars to charge a much faster pace than just plugging it into a wall outlet. So that helps the homeowner get to a full charge by the end of by the next night. NIPSCO also offers free charging for that electric vehicle through January 31st, 2017. So from the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., the homeowner is allowed to charge totally free of charge if they can shift that load to the off-peak period. And they've been very successful in doing that. It's been a one-stop shop for the homeowner, so all they have to do is they had to call NIPSCO. We walk them through the installation process and hire the installer to come out and give the quote and install everything for free. So Doug's going to talk real quick on the results today.
It's been a pleasure working with NIPSCO on the two incentive programs. This first one, as Kevin indicated, started in 2012. And back in 2012, we really didn't even have any dealerships who were selling electric vehicles. Today, we're aware of more than 360 electric vehicle owners across NIPSCO's territory. The majority of them are right here in Northwest Indiana. We collect information in an application that lets us know who's got electric vehicles, who's leasing, who owns them, and we also collect VIN numbers when customers are moving through the program. So we're quite aware of where the vehicles are, and that may be useful to you in understanding how many you've got in your community in deciding whether to take us up on the offer that we'll present in a few minutes.
So that was regarding the home program at home. And we started a public charging program in 2014 for towns, municipalities, workplaces, universities, apartment complexes to help put public charging for the communities so that if you're out and about and you're not at home, you can also charge in the communities. And so we've allocated a program that allows us to do that. And that program, to date, the standard package was that we would provide 2 dual port chargers, that's level 2 for the communities. Each one retails at about $7,000. And then we would help pay for the installation. We wouldn't cover the entire cost of the installation, but we would pay 50% of the installation up to $3,000. And then the customer, the town, municipality would have to come up with the remaining funds. NIPSCO also provides a 2-year subscription to the ChargePoint network, which allows the EV driver to see where these charging stations are on their app, on their phone, and to be able to see if they're in use or not, because you want to be able to know that you're going to be able to plug in if you want to drive over and use that station. It also provides a one-stop shop, once again, to make it easy for whoever owns the station to install the station and know that we're helping them along the way as well. So that's the other rebate that we also had, by the way, so that was level 2 charging stations. We also did have a rebate for level 3, which is a quick charge station. These are very expensive stations. They usually run between $60,000 and $80,000 per station. We would pay 50% of the cost, up to $37,500. Because of the expense, we have not had any participation in the level 3, but we've had a lot of participation in the level 2 station, which is the standard station. And that's going to talk about the results so far.
Let me introduce you to the charging station first of all, and then I'll show you where we've got stations located. In the center there, you'll see what the charging station looks like. It can charge 2 cars at a time with the 2 ports that plug into electric vehicles. It's got a little screen there. You can put a little message on that screen. It instructs the user how to use it, and it collects data for you. And we'll show you some the utility of that data later in the presentation. We install the one-stop shopping again. We install the unit. We can have bollards put near it to make sure that you don't have cars crashing into it. We then do the striping, as you'll see on the left-hand side here, green stripes, as well as a stencil indicating for electric vehicles only. And at the top of it, electric vehicle only is written on 2 spaces, which are required, 2 dedicated spaces for the cars. And you can put signage as well. And by the way, that was Chesterton's grand opening ribbon cutting, and Jim Tunn was featured in one of the pictures if you didn't notice. This is where we've deployed the stations to date. The green spots indicate the 48 stations that we have located at 36 different locations. There have been a number of customers who've taken on 2 charging stations in the same location. The yellow dots are about 23 customers that we've got in the queue that are very highly likely to proceed in the coming weeks to month. Again, most of them are distributed across Northwest Indiana, with a couple over in Angola. The municipalities that have participated to date are Chesterton, City of Whiting, and Angola.
All right, with that said, we're coming to the conclusion of our program. We wanted to use the rest of the funds and get the installations up and wrap up the program over the next 2 to 3 months. So in doing so, we thought of, well, how do we stimulate the program activity and kind of get to a conclusion? And in doing so, we came up with a plan to give a special incentive for towns and municipalities for community charging to allocate the rest of the spots, which is roughly, I think there's going to be around 10 probably open spots. And the special incentive is that we would provide all of the costs. Instead of having the towns come up with the remaining funds for installation, which has been averaging somewhere between $3,000 and $12,000 for the towns to pick up. I know that's, sometimes the towns don't have that type of funding in their budgets. We're all constrained. So to help ease the problem, we're going to pay for everything for installation costs up to $10,000. So that's the latest in the special incentive. And so that We would anticipate accepting applications for the program for any town and community that wants the chargers to be installed only for the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think to the end of the month, we'll accept the applications. And then we have to make a quick determination of how we're going to distribute those charging stations into the communities.
Just to give you a sense for it, to entice you into seeing the utility of these stations. Electric vehicle drivers are very special people, and they are, if you build something for them, a charging station that allows them to charge along their way and go a longer range, they will come. This is an example here of the data. It serves two purposes here: to show you the type of data that you'll have access to as a municipality through these charge point stations, to monitor the usage, to set pricing policies if you want to recover cost to pay for the energy that's being consumed. This is data from one of the municipalities. They've been installed since the middle of June of this year, so about 8 months of usage. The software allows us to take a look at gasoline avoided by using electricity as a fuel. On the order of 138 gallons have been avoided by the use of the charging station at this municipality. Greenhouse gas reductions are estimated about 461 kilograms. The charging station has been used by electric vehicle owners 142 times over that 8-month period, with 221 hours worth of charging taking place over that time period. One of the nice things about siting an electric vehicle charging station in your municipality is it can be an attractor to your downtown area or to a park you have in your municipality, town, or city. Here we've got on the side here, in the notion of, for this municipality, how many unique drivers have stopped at that station and the range from which they've come. So you can see we've got Chesterton and Valparaiso and Portage and Westville and Hebron and Gary and Maryville, but we've also got folks coming all the way from the Milwaukee area, Tomahawk, Albion, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Evanston, Schaumburg. So this is a place where people will come, the electric vehicle drivers will come and they'll stop because you have a station for them. They'll stop and drink coffee at your coffee shop, have lunch at your restaurants. What I've got is the two graphics here are data that get accumulated by the station. Energy usage on the top, number of sessions on the bottom. The details suggest that in the wintertime you'll see less usage, in the summertime there's more usage. Gives a sense for how many sessions there are per day. We've got up to 6 per day. As we've gone into the winter, it's maybe 1 per day. So it's a flavor for what you may see for a station if you adopt one.
So in wrapping up, I really encourage everyone to consider putting an electric vehicle charging station in your community. The municipalities that are and do, I think they're forward thinking. Electric vehicles costs are coming down. The battery length is going to increase over time. We have several vehicles that will be in the $30,000 range with a 200-mile extension that's coming out over the next 2 years. That's kind of thought from those in the industry to be an inflection point where more and more EV drivers will be starting to purchase electric vehicles. So we're about 2 years away from really having this become a mainstream automobile for those in the communities. And so you have an opportunity to get them free of charge, so to speak, for your communities. And so I really encourage the applications to start coming in. As I mentioned, we're only accepting applications to the end of this month, February, so that we can get these installed and close out the program over the next 2 months. So with that, thank you for your time, and we'll remain after the meeting if there's any questions for everybody.
The handout basically kind of reiterates what we mentioned in the incentive. On the back side, it shows you what the charging station looks like, so you can share that with others in your town or city. We can also email that to everybody through NERC's distribution list. If we end up with more than 10 applicants, we're working on a scoring system that is very akin to the process that NERC uses, scoring for all funding that goes through, and we'll distribute that so you know what that scoring criteria will be as well through NERC's distribution system. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb and Kevin. We appreciate your presentation. Thank you. And thank you, Carl, for being here. A corollary to the charging stations may be mentioned, I think at this point may be appropriate to mention, because you need to check your local parking enforcement regulations in your town. The experience we had was that, especially at European Market, people use those parking places for regular gas-consuming, polluting cars, and did not pay attention to the signage or to the marking. So we passed additional ordinances, now subjects them to additional fines for parking in there just as it would be a handicap parking spot. But that wasn't in the books. And so we had some problems enforcing electrical vehicle charging stations parking only. And you may want to take advantage of that opportunity to review that before you put in. I encourage you to put them in. It's a great idea. But if you can't enforce people that are parking in there that shouldn't be, it diminishes the effectiveness of the program, obviously. That takes care of our presentations. Now we need to move to the Transportation Policy Committee. We have a number of items. We don't normally have this many, but as we have not met for a few weeks as scheduled, we do have a number of Transportation Policy Committee actions to take, and I'm going to turn the floor to Dave Decker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Transportation Policy Committee met on February 9th. At that meeting, we heard a presentation from Craig Phillips of Michigan City on the U.S. Highway 421 and South Francis Street South Gateway Corridor Plan. The plan was produced to enhance development opportunities near I-94 interchange in Michigan City. Today we have 8 actions for consideration. The first is Resolution 1601, which is found on pages 33 to 36 in the meeting packet. It's a Fifth Amendment to the 216 Unified Planning Work Program. Imran Ibrahim will give the presentation of this program.
Good morning, everybody. Today we are requesting an amendment to the Unified Planning Work Program for the new commissioners. We are required as a metropolitan planning organization to have a unified planning work program which include all NERC programs and projects within the 3 domains of transportation, environment, and economic development. And also all the regional significant transportation and planning projects. So today's amendment is we are going to add a new study at NERC for the intersection of USDA and I-65. It's a city planning project. It's in pages 33 to 36, if you would like to read about it. For the last 30 years, the intersection of I-65 and USDA is being treated as urban area. It has all the components of urban area, the regional mall, the high-rise office building, the services, it has transit, all the components of an urban area. But actually, it's a broken urbanism. It's missing a lot of the urban component that make it really significant metro center as we identified in the 2040 plan. So we looked at this intersection. We said, we really wanted a city planning. It was recommended at our regional vision, the 2040 plan. And we decided finally, as we identified funds through the safety funds, SIP, about 300,000, we're going to conduct a study to improve the district connectivity. The area has over 20,000 employees, but has only 5,000 residents within the area, which is the mismatch of housing and employment, and that's something also we'll be looking for. The area also has 26% of the total accidents within the area is pedestrian and bike accidents, and that's also because there is no consideration at all for pedestrian connectivity. There is no signalized intersection. There is no enough time for people to cross the road. There is no crosswalk. It's too wide, too fast for people with all of these urban activities around the area. The study area starting from Clay Street in the east and Maryville Road in the west, and quarter mile north of Perry and quarter mile south of Perry. So we will be looking to improve this area, improve pedestrian connectivity, make it safer, make it real livable centers within this area. So once you approve this study, we will right away put together an RFP and hire a consultant. So the 300,000 the consultant services and also staff.
Any questions on resolution?
I just want to say on behalf, and I think Councilman Hartley will join me, we want to say thank you for the insight, the vision to undertake this. It is a very congested area, and I think this is very timely for the time that we're embarking on some of the Route 30 improvements. And I just want to say thank you to the Transportation Policy Committee for their insight in tackling this.
Is there any further discussion or comment? As we've already had a motion and a second, I'll ask again for discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye on 1601.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution passes.
The second resolution is 1602 on pages 37 to 40, the 10th amendment to the fiscal year 216 to 219 Transportation Improvement Program. Gary Evers will describe this proposed amendment.
Good morning. The Transportation Improvement Program is a 4-year spending plan that demonstrates how we're going to spend federal funds, federal surface transportation funds that come into our region, either through Federal Highway Administration, through NDOT, or through Federal Transit Administration directly to us. Our last TIP or improvement program was adopted this past May of 2015. Our next one will be adopted in May of 2017. And in between those two periods of time, we do amendments. And this is what you have before you this morning. This particular amendment consists of project requests, project change requests submitted to us by NDOT. The amendment was vetted by NDOT as well as the interagency conformity group consisting of federal and state officials and was proposed by we ask for your approval of this amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, how did the overhead sign get damaged?
Refer to TPC on that.
I don't know.
We don't know. We believe it was a crack.
Any further discussion? Motion and a second. All those in favor of 1602 amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Amendment passes. 1603, Amendment 11.
Thank you. This particular amendment consists of local public agency projects, that is, our cities, towns, and counties, changes to their project. The specific changes are identified in the table attached to the resolution under the category action requested. As you can see, most of the changes are on. Again, these changes were vetted by CPC, have been exposed to public comment, and interagency consultation. Would ask for your approval.
Is there a motion on 1603 Amendment 11?
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Resolution 1603 is adopted.
And 1604 is Belinda Petrosky.
Good morning, thank you. Yes, on pages 47 and 48, there's a list of transit projects. The most significant is the addition of a project for Michigan City Transit for 2 replacement buses. This project represents the first distribution of Section 5339 funds for Port County. They have to compete statewide. for these funds. So Michigan City was a successful, I'm glad to say, applicant, and they are going to have 2 vehicles replaced that they very much need. And LaPorte County, I will note, does not get enough 5307 money from LaPorte, Michigan City to have stable replacement programs. I would note that for their sakes. The other projects are basically modifications to existing projects in our TIF. The first one is the bikes on trains. That is involving funds that are left over from the feasibility study, and most of you will recall. We did a study in cooperation with NICTY to put bikes on the trains plan. And it came out very well. The study came out well. They've had a demonstration period already and are moving ahead with a program to start April 1st. So these funds left over from the original study are being repurposed to provide marketing and educational materials related to the kickoff of that project. The other projects are additions to existing projects, mostly vehicle replacements. Opportunity Enterprises has one on there for some finishing funding for their security of their parking lot, and then East Chicago Transit has some minor funds added for additional office furniture replacement.
Thank you. Was there a recommendation on 0412 from the committee? Yes, there was. There was. Is there a motion?
No move.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. 0513.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. It was just pointed out to me the fund type on Michigan City's project is shown as SDP. That's supposed to be 5339.
Will the motion be
That's okay. It is the SDP fund. We do it differently. We'll bring Susan up.
Okay. Resolution 1605, 13th Amendment, Mr. Evers.
Okay, the action stands. We're on 0513.
This particular amendment involves additional state projects requested by the Office for District Office. As with the other amendment, these have been added by the appropriate agencies that are appropriate for the federal government by the FDC. Two projects on this particular list of significance. They are rebuild jobs on US 30, the State Road 40, and US 491, as well as the State Road 55 and US 41. Huge significant projects. We would ask for your approval of this.
Recommendation. Transportation Policy Committee recommends this action.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second on Resolution 05, number 13. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution adopted. Resolution 1606.
It's a 14th Amendment, Mr. Evers.
This particular amendment is local publications or projects in hand. Most of the changes here are fairly minor and were vetted by the appropriate authorities and we recommend this for approval.
Is this 13?
Is it?
Amendment 13?
Motion to approve.
Clarification from the chair. Are we voting on 1605, Amendment 13?
Thought we just disposed of that.
I thought we just...
So we're ready for 1606.
1606-14.
Yeah. That's what I
The recommendation has been made. Is there a motion?
There was.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I want to thank Mitch Barloga. There's an important part of this tip where we're connected with Hammond Bike Trail System to the Illinois Bike Trail System, which I think is good for everybody sitting in this room because more people from Chicago makes it easier for them to get to Northwest Indiana on a bike. And I know that tip's in here. Mitch is always really pushing Hammond, pushing the envelope for bike trail connectors, and I just want to say thank you. That's part of this tip, and I think it's an important part for everybody that's along the Erie-Lackawanna and even further off to the east. So thank you, Mitch.
Mitch, does that connect to the Vernon Greenway? Is that the plan, or?
Could I point out that this also ties into your early presentation as a heritage area and this smoothness from moving from municipality to municipality.
We have a motion and a second.
The transportation policy recommends action on.
Okay, that's where I was going. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Resolution 608.
Amendment 15, this particular amendment restores Section
607, excuse me, Gary. I got off one this time.
In the previous step that existed before the end of last year, we had all previously amended in two capacity increasing projects for I-65. That was the first stretch from US 30 down to US 231, and the second stretch from US 231 to 02. NDOT is proposing to add increase in capacity on these two stretches up to 6 lanes, and when it came time to put the new together, they had temporarily suspended the work on this. They have since brought these projects back to line and have asked us to restore these projects to the tip. So similar to the other projects, the Interagency Conservation Group has approved this for inclusion. The federal agencies have concurred, and TPC has recommended adoption.
Transportation policy recommends action on this 1607.
1607, Amendment 15, is there a motion? Approval?
Second.
Motion and approval and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 1607-15 is adopted.
The final one is 1608, is the selection of new federal aid projects for fiscal years 16 to 21. And the Transportation Committee recommends action on Resolution 1608.
Yes. Late last year, we realized following NDOT's rejection of one of our projects that needed for eligibility in the Highway Safety Improvement Program that we would need to follow up solicitation for projects. We did. Units of government were very they came up with projects that exceeded our expectations, so we thank you for that. This is the final grouping of projects that will be added under this particular tip, and new projects, everything else would for the solicitation in 2018. We're asking for you to ratify these projects. We will be bringing these back to you in the form of a tip amendment to actually include them in that tip once the federal government is now.
Transportation Committee recommends action on Resolution 1608.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. 1608 is approved.
This is all the resolutions we have for this meeting. The next meeting date of the Transportation Policy Committee will be Tuesday, March 8th, here at the Construction Advancement Foundation. And Mr. Chairman, this concludes the report.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your efforts. It was a lengthy report and it takes work to keep them straight, doesn't it? NDOT, Mr. Powers, what do you have to share with us today?
There's not much happening today. Is this on? You all hear me?
Got hold it close.
All right, I will come down here. Now, is it on? No, it's on. Can you hear me now?
You gotta get close.
Hello? All right, I'm going to try to read and get my mic a little bit. I'm going to miss you, Allison. You've been over retired. Thank you. I think we should go further.
Wait and
Not
see.
a member of the committee, though, so I'll just...
Wait and see what happens.
Actually, we are very busy. As you know, I'm not only professionally, but personally, very pleased about the widening and capacity of I-65 north and south. It's needed, as we've heard this week many times. I'm looking forward to it being done because I travel a lot, so the personal side is I'm looking forward to that happening and further. We have a lot before us as a staff. In fact, Betsy Quist, our capital program management director, is with us committee, and her staff have done remarkable work along with the others here within the district, just on the amount of funding that's coming our way over the next couple of years for primarily preservation, but again, improving the infrastructure to the economy. So to say we're not busy, it's like nothing's going on. It was basically a bold-faced lie. We are at capacity and then some. Just getting the projects through our pipeline and then what's being added. And then, of course, as you know, with the General Assembly being in session and infrastructure being forefront, there's more to come. So it's a good problem for us to have. We're pleased to have it. With that, winter operations are ongoing. Don't let these 50-degree temperatures this weekend fool you. I got fooled last year, and they got hit. I will report that you may recall, for those of you who were on the committee, last year our fleet was not where we wanted it to be. This year it is where we want it to be, and then some. We are doing extremely well, but we focused throughout the summer not on funding, not spending taxpayer dollars as much as spending elbow grease, people just getting busy and getting after our fleet and getting it ready for this winter, and it's held up remarkably well. So I'm pleased with our staff in that regard as well, because the big yellow trucks are running mostly because of the work they've done. The district realignment is also paying dividends with, more so outside this area, more really the east side of the district, where we had some issues with the bypass last year and some things like that. So overall, I would say NDOT is here, ready, the district is running well. And I'm really excited about this highway, the 65 widening. And I think that about covers it, other than I'll put in my standard plug for this economy and people looking for jobs. If you know people that have a CDL, coming out of school, need a job, whatever the case might be in engineering fields, NDOT is an equal opportunity employer. And we need people with CDLs as much as you do locally. So if you know people that need a job and are qualified in that area, please let us know, because we can use them. We need people right now. We have a lot of work. We need people to do it. And that's it, unless you have questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Powers?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I want to thank NDOT, and I want to challenge NDOT in the same statement, okay? I've been going to NERC for 12 years. I know there's a lot of new members around here, and probably a lot of people are asking themselves, what does NERC do? I want to point out about 7 or 8 years ago, NERC challenged NDOT at the time, noticing a lot of us drive down down 65 to Indianapolis, and we noticed one time there was a crossover accident where a car went across the median, it was a snowy day, and it hit an oncoming semi, and everybody in the car died. We came back to NERC the next month, and we challenged NDOT. We said, NDOT, we noticed that there's cable strip barriers in some parts of 65, and cable strip barriers not on other parts of 65, and we think that Northwest Indiana, the region, should have cable strip barriers. And NDOT went to work and they put up the cable strip barriers, and it saves lives because we see them constantly limp, which means they were hit, and every time they were hit, we potentially saved a life. And it could be a Republican life, Democrat life, communist life, who cares what kind of life it is, they saved a life. And I want to thank them for that, because I've noticed it, and when you go up and down 65, you see it more and more. My sister lives in Michigan. I went up there a few weeks ago, and when I'm driving, I'm looking at things like cable strip barriers, and I noticed in Michigan, they were double-sided, and they were never lit. They were always up, on both sides. And granted, the medians were smaller, but I think in Michigan, there must be some type of state law that says, this is not an option, we're gonna have it up. Our medians are closer here, so you gotta have a cable strip on both sides. And I never saw one line limp, which means if they get hit, there's probably some type of law that says once they get hit, their equivalent of NDOT has a couple days. You got to get it fixed relatively quickly. And I want to point that out, and I want to thank NDOT because they have noticed this. But I think we should sort of challenge it at the same time, Rick, that I think that should be on state law. We shouldn't have an option. It should be on 30. It should be on 65. It should be everywhere where there's a close median, because it could happen to my daughter just like it could happen to anybody's daughter in this room. And when they do get hit, we should have a state law that says, NDOT, you have 3 days to fix it. Because if it's limp, it's not as effective as if it was at full strength. So I do want to point out that a lot of new members around, this is the kind of stuff you can do at these meetings, and NDOT listens, and I'm pretty positive of that. So I want to say thank you, Rick.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, in fact, you are absolutely correct. I think it was
That's a half a thank you.
Actually, I know it was that you brought it to my attention, and it has been a focus of mine personally. Again, safety is at the forefront. These cable carriers are effective.
I agree.
And they are close to the top of the list, again, to being corrected every time we know one happens. So I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Anyone else that sees them left, please bring it to our attention.
Thank you.
We'll be out with it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for your comment, Mayor. I would also add that NDOT has been very responsive to issues in our area, in the Chesterton area, and I won't list them, but they're immediately addressed. So we appreciate that responsiveness.
Thanks. And I can confirm, by the way, that overhead sign was a crash. I was going to interject earlier. It was indeed a result of a crash.
We want to give you due compliments so you'll keep coming back.
I'd come back anyway.
All right. Other business. Anybody have any other business to bring to the, about Cedar Lake or anywhere else? I had to. We have public comment just for the information purposes of the new members. Oh, yes. Did you have something?
I'm sorry for announcements. I wanted to announce to everybody in here that the Region holiday is tomorrow. It's 219 Day. We're having a party at the Hammond Civic Center. It's free. It's going to have a lot of, craft beers, Region food, good time, great entertainment, and then we top it off with the fireworks display. So that's tomorrow at the Hammond Civic Center for 219 Day. Tomorrow's February 19th. It's a new Region holiday. So if you guys could all come out, you're more than welcome. Thank you.
After public comment, you can make that again.
I know, I was waiting for Rob Carnahan.
For the new members, we have a sign-up sheet at the door for anyone from the public that would like to comment before the commission, and people register at that table, and that's given to me, and at this time I'll recognize Mr. Nowacki from Gary, who has requested the microphone, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations on your election. I also would like to thank Milo for her service in the past.
You've done a great job.
My name is Tim Nowacki. I'm a resident of the city of Gary, Indiana, and frequently I come to the NERC meetings and I complain about the 1220 project that was completed through our city several years ago. There were significant engineering defects that were very obvious to me. I was grateful that Mr. Alderman and his staff had addressed some of those problems, but very clearly there were problems from one end of the installation all the way to the other end. At one point, the federal government had a resident here, had an employee here. They had instituted a survey of that project, and NERC had some staff members who participated. I participated, members of the city participated, and they had done a survey of the project, the 1220 project, Broadway project, and they had noted significant problems with it, everything from signage to signaling to the sidewalks, curbs, things that I had mentioned in some of my complaints had been memorialized in this process that they had used. Now, I don't drive 12 and 20, but I do walk 12 and 20 from one end to the other on a regular basis, going to meetings at the sanitary district, walking to Miller. So I spend a lot of time observing that project, both 4th Avenue and 5th Avenue. And as soon as the project was completed, first thing that happened, this is an engineering defect, the utilities had to cut it up. And there's big, gaping patches now where the utilities had dug it up and then had resurfaced it. As a matter of fact, we have patches on top of patches on a road that's only 2 years old. We also observed that the road is cracking significantly. And the state had been out, they had sealed some of the cracks. We now notice potholes forming. This is a brand new road. Since I walk the road and since I'm observing the road as I'm walking, and I noticed a problem with the surfacing. Where most roads get worn smooth, our road is getting worn rougher and rougher. Now, I did some internet investigation on it. It's a classic case of where the contractor had not used enough binder in the pavement. So what you're seeing now is the aggregate is being released from the road. Now I'm going to get to an important point on this. So it's not just the potholes, not just the cracks, not just the failure of the road. We know that the state is suing various contractors for providing incorrect pavement through projects all over the state. We are agreed about it in the paper. I assume it's true. And what I noticed on this, and I just noticed it last week, was there's a section of road where it's cored, not once, but 8 times in an area only 20 feet long. So this is a process, for some of you who may or may not know, the roads have to be tested, and they hire engineering firms to test the roads after they're completed. And they do take these cores along the entire road to make sure that the whole road is done right. So as I was walking later in the week, I looked to observe. I see all these in one 20-foot section, but I noticed that I don't see the cores in other section of the road. So what they did was they took the cores all out of the same area, maybe an area that wasn't failing like the other parts of it. So as we spend tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, and I use that number rather than a billion, because I know what $1 million is. I have no idea what $1 billion is. But we throw that number around pretty easily in government circles. So as the legislature looks at these tax increases, because we have to replace our failing infrastructure, we have to look at the infrastructure we put in. I doubt that Gary was treated, I think Mr. Alderman said, Gary's not treated any different than anyone else. The whole state gets treated like Gary. Well, if that's the case, you should all be concerned, because we can't afford roads to be failing 2 years after they put in. We can't afford to pay engineers to test the roads. We can't afford to pay engineers to do engineering work before the project and not take into consideration that utilities, ask the utilities first, instead of a year after it goes in to tear the whole road up once or twice and leave the road as bad as it was when you put it in. So, thank you. Let's keep that in mind. Mr. Powers is here. I'm sure he's made some notes, or I hope he has, but that's fraud. If they've taken all those tests in one area, that's fraud, and it might even be criminal.
Okay. Thank you for your
If Mr. Powers wants more information on it, or if he's going to run out of here, I don't know, but I'd be happy to share that.
Thank you.
You can take him home that way he doesn't have to walk so far. That's the only comment I had registered, so we'll move to announcements. We have some information from the Shared Ethics Advisory Commission. Mr. Rittenmeyer would like to make some announcement about the Shared Ethics Committee, please.
I'm sorry, I was doing other business in the hall. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rittenmeyer, and I'm actually representing Cal Pelham for us. He is ill. He is the president of Shared Ethics Advisory Commission. I am an at-large member of the commission. And we are having our annual Ethics in Government Summit 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from right now. For those of you who have been at our event in the past, we're going to operate the same way. We have a keynote address by the Honorable Rebecca Pallmeyer, federal judge in Chicago. Most notable for the judge that presided over Joe Bryan case. She's quite an expert on government ethics. She will give a keynote presentation. We have three case studies that have been developed at Indiana University, and all the participants in the summit will have an opportunity to discuss those case studies. And then, courtesy of NERC that is loaning us our keypad polling instruments, everybody will vote on what are the most important issues in those case studies. We've done this before, it's quite effective. NERC staff need technology. So you're all welcome. I'm sure some of you have already signed up. We have over 200 people scheduled to attend as of right now. It is free. However, you do have to register. And as we have in the past, if something you don't like, we will assign you seats. You can show up so you can sit with people from your own community. But we want to talk across community lines. That's very quick. It's totally quick. So I don't know if there are any questions. I'm sure that is Advisory Commission. Richard Hardaway will be one of our panelists. And we have over 20 communities that are now members. Many of your communities are members. Not all that we're talking about proselytizing here. If you're not a member, we'd like to show that and participate in this.
Okay, thank you very much. Any quick questions? If not, any other announcements? Going once, twice, 3 times gone. Motion for adjournment, please. I have many. Is there a second? Meeting's adjourned.